You're listening to The Other 50%, a herstory of Hollywood. I'm Julie Harris Walker. This is the podcast where I talk to successful women in entertainment and hear their stories. Our presenting sponsor is the entertainment payroll company Extreme Reach. What you may not know about Extreme Reach is that they are already an industry disruptor in the areas of creative asset management and video ad distribution. And now they are poised to disrupt the entertainment payroll business. If you are creating content, you need them. Call them and tell them I sent you. Today I got to speak with Kylie Hollister. Kylie is an actor with the Actors Gang in Los Angeles. We talked about her reluctant yet guided journey into acting, meeting Tim Robbins and joining the Actors Gang, and living every day with the responsibility of being an artist. And it can be a long journey to joy. And she has a beautiful love story. This episode is a little long, but trust me, settle in. It's cozy and moving, and you know how much I love talking to an artist. You can find us at theother50%.com for added features, photos, show notes, and the merch. You can also listen on Apple Podcast and all the podcast places. And I want to make sure that you know about a new podcast that is launching in April. It's called Catch a Break, and it's the insider's guide to breaking into and navigating Hollywood. I'm hosting it, but it's also produced by Jeanette Valturno, Marcy Brown, Jessica Malanofi, Enrico Sacco, and Shirley Davis. The show is a series of conversations with panels made up of industry insiders and veterans where we tackle all kinds of topics, starting with things they didn't necessarily teach in film school. In addition to the conversations, we will also be giving away bonus materials, breakout sessions, videos, and samples to help round out the experience. Season 1 launches soon. Go to catchabreakpodcast.com and subscribe so you will know when it's live. Okay, here's my conversation with Kylie Hollister. Have a listen. What do you do?
I am an actor in theater and film, mostly.
What else is there?
Television.
Oh, right.
I started in music videos and in commercials, but I haven't done either of those in a really long time.
Now, you're with the Actors Gang, are you?
I'm with the Actors Gang.
Let's talk about that.
Yeah, the Actors Gang.
How long have you been with them?
It's going to be 18 years.
Have you been there since the beginning?
No, it's been around since 1984.
Wow.
Yeah, Tim Robbins started it out of UCLA.
Yeah, and he's still involved, isn't he?
He's the artistic director.
Amazing. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about let's go all the way back, and then I want to hear about how you got into that company and what that journey has been like. You grew up in Portland?
Born in Eugene and grew up in Portland mostly.
Did you always know you were an actor?
No, not at all. I always loved the theater. I always had friends in plays, and what I loved most was going backstage. I don't know what it was. I felt like it was a magical place. I felt at home there. Mm-hmm. I didn't really know why, but I was the most reserved. I say reserved instead of shy, often because I chose not to speak a majority of my childhood. I don't know, I was very specific about who I wanted to talk to when I was little, so...
You were just discerning.
Yeah, if I didn't want to talk to someone, I just wouldn't talk to them. I was kind, but I was always very, just reserved as a kid.
Sorry, the cat is on the table.
So that was really, I think being an actor is probably the last thing that anyone in my life who's known me well probably thought that I would do, but kind of actually makes sense to people also because it's one way I found I could really communicate. I was a very emotional child growing up. I was very connected to nature. I was really connected to storytelling. I love to write, still love to write. And I had an amazing imagination. Because the trees and the birds and the animals and the wind, and I grew up on the river in Portland, and they were all my friends. I spoke to nature and the universe, and I was raised believing in fairies and gnomes and unicorns, which is very Portlandian, Oregonian thing.
A very hippie upbringing.
Yeah.
All the things that actually make you an artist.
Completely. My dad and my whole dad's side of his family were all artists.
What kind?
My dad was a designer and an architect. He was actually one of the first employees of Nike. Oh. So I was a Nike brat, Nike kid, born in Eugene where Nike started. And then when I was 5, the offices moved to Portland, so that's why we moved there. But my dad was one of the first shoe designers for Nike. He designed a lot of the original logos for Nike, so all the old school vintage Nike stuff is all my favorite because it's all his stuff. He had a beautiful eye. He always taught me how to trust my eye. He said, only you can see things the way that you want to see. He taught me just to trust it. Mm-hmm. The way that you see it is right. So he's like,
Wow.
always put your head in your heart and I'll never lead you astray.
What a gift.
Is what he taught me. And I always saw him making things with his hands. He built our houses and fences and fireplaces and just always building things and making stuff and making things more beautiful.
Did he design the swoosh?
He didn't design the swoosh. The swoosh was actually a contest. I can't remember how much the person got. It was a student at University of Oregon, maybe. I should know this, but won the contest. They were just putting out a contest for, they needed a logo for their new company. So someone submitted that, and that's what they chose. And Nike, Jeff Johnson, I believe, came up. He was like, I don't know if he had a dream or something, but it's the goddess of victory. Wow. That's what Nike means. So just those two random things together. That sounds good. So yeah, my dad was, along with Phil Knight and Bill Bowerman, which was his coach at U of O. My whole family went to U of O. Together, they started the company. Phil Knight also ran for Bill Bowerman. Bill Bowerman was like him and his wife, Barbara, were like second parents to my dad. So growing up, I had art around me all the time. Mm-hmm. Both my aunts are artists as well as sisters. My grandma made all of their clothes. My mom made all my clothes. My dad designed them. It was just around me all the time. And then we had come from also a long line of writers. My dad was a great writer, and he also made films. So, but I didn't always want to become an actor, but something happened when I was 16.
Yeah, let's hear about that moment.
I went to London with my friends who were all in the theater department. I would just go and watch their plays. Yeah. Never in them. But we went to London.
You're like, I know these are my people.
I know they're my people.
I'm not sure why.
Exactly. It was a gut feeling, and I really wanted to go. So I got a job, and I raised. My mom said you have to raise half the amount of what it takes to go. And so I got a job at Baskin Robbins, and
that was my first job.
Really?
In Seattle.
Man, it hurts still my wrist to this day.
Yeah,
it's never
that's
the same.
hardcore.
It's hardcore.
Yeah.
Yep. So I raised my half, and I went. And I think we saw within like 10 days we saw at least a play a day. I think we ended up seeing like 12 plays. We went to Stratford upon Avon. We saw, but it was seeing Les Mis at the Queen's Theater. Mm-hmm. So Les Mis, I don't think I've been playing that long. Maybe for like 10 years.
And to see it in that theater with the English accents, like that's how it should be seen.
Yes. It was spectacular. And that theater was just a jewel box. It was just all red and gold, and I just thought I was just...
And it stands alone, like on its own block. It's not in the middle of anything. Right. It's like on an island.
Yeah, it's very special. Yeah. And I didn't realize all of that in the moment. I just felt it. And I was so moved by that play, musical rather, that I was sitting there. All my friends had left, and I was sitting there bawling. Mm-hmm. I could not stop crying. But it wasn't... I was just so moved. I'd never been so moved. I didn't know that was possible until then. And these two little old English ladies are sitting in front of me, and they're like, darling, are you going to be all right? And I was like, I'm so good. This is amazing.
My life has changed forever.
Completely. And I call it, when something moves you that much, I tell my kids, it's like moving, it moves your molecules. Mm-hmm. Like it changes the insides of your body forever, and it resonates within you, and it grows things in you. And that's why we talk about in our theater, like you never know who you're going to reach. Even if somebody doesn't come up to you afterwards, you never know how your work is going to resonate with other people and possibly change their life in some way.
So true. I still can't hear the first note of Les Mis without crying.
Oh, yeah. It just is in there. Mm-hmm. So I was an athlete up until that point, a hardcore athlete. My brother had a full ride scholarship to University of Oregon. He was state champion cross country runner.
What was your sport?
I was a track runner, a sprinter. Our team was state champs multiple times. I was also a soccer player. I was very fast. I was very competitive, and my journey was supposed to take me to the University of Oregon as well. Mm-hmm. I had a meeting to go and meet with the dean of the school, but after I got back, I started changing everything internally. And both my parents were also divorced at that time, and I was living with my stepdad, my mom, stepdad, who I did not care for at all, did not care for me. And so I was already making
plans to get out.
Yeah.
Exit plan.
Didn't quite know what it was yet. So I started quitting. I quit all sports my senior year.
You're like, that's it.
Yeah, I just quit because how that play resonated with me was in my heart. And when I came back, I realized that sports weren't in my heart. It was more of an ego thing, I feel. Yeah. And I was just always very athletic. And I was
like, here's something I'm good at.
I was good at it. Yeah. Exactly. I was always good at it. I always beat the boys. And so I was trying to keep up with my brother, I think. So my brother kind of trained me, I think, for that. So I just started putting that intention as far as like I knew what that feeling was and I want to go towards that. I didn't know it was, I didn't think like coming back, I'm going to be an actor, I'm going to do that.
Yeah.
But my good friend was a model and she knew this woman, her name is Glenda, and she had an agency in Portland. And we started becoming friends with her, and I would hang out with Julia and go on photo shoots with her and stuff. And my friend Glenda was like, I'm going to introduce you to this woman, Marta. She's a manager down in LA.
Now wait, hold on. Had you done a school play yet?
Nothing.
Straight to manager.
She just was like, I don't know what it is. I think that you do really well with her. Something about you, kid. Yeah, exactly. And so I was like, oh, really? Like, She's like, well, I connect you with her. She takes in girls during the summertime from all over the country who want to take their shot at Hollywood. Do music videos and commercials, just start auditioning for stuff. See how you do. Give it a summer. My parents thought I was insane.
Yeah.
My dad was heartbroken.
So was this instead of college, I'm going to go to LA and be an actor?
I'm just going to go not to be an actor. I still hadn't had my mind set on being that I could actually do that.
Okay.
I didn't think that actually.
So you're going to go to LA for the summer and see what's
I'm going to get away from my stepdad.
Yeah, okay. Let's refine the goal. I'm going to get out of the house for the summer.
Yeah. And also I felt like I'd be wasting my time and my parents' money by going to college and not having any clue what I wanted to study. I think I would have done well in one of those, my parents didn't really talk to me about college and my different opportunities, and I don't know why they just didn't. I think they had just gotten out of divorce. They both gotten remarried. Like it's just like it was
back
different.
in the day, who did?
Yeah, maybe not.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No one was hiring college coaches like we are today. Like that wasn't happening.
Yeah, I guess not. And I think about that often, but I just nobody ever talked to me about like, oh, you could do this, you could do that. My parents always told me, look, you can do anything. Right. But I just didn't really have any clue. I just wanted to do something else. I knew that what I wanted to do was not in Oregon at that time. So I moved. So I turned 18. I graduated from high school, and 2 weeks later, I moved to LA with a suitcase.
A job?
Nope.
Had you met the manager?
Nope.
Did you know anybody?
Nope.
Okay, so what did you do? You got out. Did you drive down, take the bus? How'd you get here?
I flew, and I had a little bit of money. I don't think my parents wanted to give me too much because they wanted me to come back.
Yeah.
So I became really good friends with Marta's assistant. Her name's Melissa. She's still a really very good friend of mine. And I lived with 12 other girls in 2 rooms that had bunk beds.
So you did the summer program?
I did the summer thing. With woman Marta, who was totally insane, but hilarious and really good at what she did. She was really great at picking a very diverse group of people who she thought could work, and we all worked. But when I moved down there, I was naturally blonde, actually. I'm natural blonde. And I had blonde hair down the middle of my back. And I was very kind of apple pie looking.
Yeah.
And then
Fresh out of Oregon.
And one way that we would earn money, and also we would get awesome hair and makeup stuff for free, was we did hair shows for Sebastian.
Oh,
company.
smart.
Yeah. So she sent us out to Sebastian when he was out in the valley, and we would do hair shows and stuff. They would get free hair, coloring and cuts, and so this guy was like, looked at me, he's like, you have a really old-fashioned face. Can I do something crazy? I think you'd look really great with like an A-line bob, and if I dye your hair like dark brown. And I was like, sure, why not? That sounds like fun.
Yeah.
And before that, I barely booked anything. But after I cut my hair and dyed it dark, I worked non-stop.
Really?
Yeah. First thing, I booked all these music videos. I was in so many music videos from the early, mid-90s, late 90s. So they booked like our whole group that I lived with. So we would often, book a lot of jobs together, and that's how I got to know LA and Hollywood. I did a music video for a band called the Rembrandts, where I ended up at Hollywood High on top of the observatory. They rented the observatory for an entire day and a night. So I was dancing up on top of the observatory. Like, that was my first time actually in Hollywood.
Amazing.
Got a whole tour of Hollywood that way.
Can we talk about this woman for a minute?
Yeah.
So did she have this house where she brought in girls in the house?
Yeah, a condo in Venice on the beach.
And she was a manager.
Yep.
So she kind of shepherded everyone's career. Because to hear that situation, and it's not predatory.
I know. I don't know if that would happen today.
It sounds unreal.
It totally sounds unreal. I tell my kids all the time how lucky, I tell my older one, how lucky I was that I did not end up in the wrong hands.
Yeah.
Incredibly. And that my parents let me do that. Like, I would.
I mean, this sounds crazy.
It sounds crazy now.
On
it totally
paper?
does.
No, you don't go do that.
And you know what's amazing is I never signed a contract with her because I never really fully trusted her. I kind of assessed things. My parents just go down and assess it. Like, you're going to know if it's like wacky or... And also Glinda vouched for her. Mm-hmm. You know, like I got to know Glinda really well. My parents got to know her and they trusted her. And so Glinda would come down and fly and, check on us. And there was a couple of us that lived there that were there from Oregon. But then what happened was I started making enough to stay. And I would give her percentages. I would just I always made sure I paid her.
Yeah.
Right? I give her the 10%. But I never wanted to sign anything with her because I didn't trust her with me or I just didn't want to put my name down on anything.
Yeah.
But she trusted that I would pay her. So I did and covered my rent and all that. But then I booked a National Diet Coke commercial.
Cha-ching.
But I was cast as an extra. Uh-huh. I remember taking a taxi there from Venice all the way there. I was late. Don't ever recommend that. My first big commercial. And I show up and they're like, Kylie, okay, come over here. And so I get in line they're like, oh, the director wants to look at everybody. I'm like, okay. So I go and I stand in line with all the extras and they're like, no, Kylie, you're over there. I'm like, what do you mean I'm over there? And they're like, no, you're with all the principals. I'm like,
okay.
I just literally shuffle. I'm like, okay. And so they made me a principal there on set, or maybe they had changed their mind at the last minute and said, oh, no, we want her. And so I ended up becoming one of the leads in the
fantastic
National Diet Coke commercial, which ended up going international.
So that was a life-changing moment.
Life-changing moment. I was in magazines. That was the first time I felt like, wow, that feels nice. Yeah. And the paychecks felt really nice. I mean, for 18 years old, I made over $50,000 in 1 year.
Yeah.
From that.
That'll keep you going as an actor for a while.
That'll keep me going. And it kept me going in the sense that it kept me in town. It proved to my parents that, okay, maybe
it's legit.
She got something there.
Yeah.
And then Marta skipped town. I was one of the only ones left by that point. At the end of the 3 months, I think there was 3 of us left.
Hey, what do you mean she skipped town? That doesn't sound like she retired and moved to Tennessee.
The cops showed up and we found out a lot of things that were happening that were under the table, not, she was taking money under the table kind of stuff. And
okay, so it wasn't as pure as it sounded.
She was very good at what she did, but it wasn't always great with the business side of things.
Okay, so Marta skipped town.
All of a sudden, I was left without any representation. I was able to afford my own apartment, so I actually got an apartment and shared it with a couple of other girls who I helped kind of them find a new place. And then I called my dad, and I said, Dad, I'm kind of lost now. I don't really know what I'm going to do. I don't know anybody else.
Did you get an agent through this process?
No, I just had Marta. She represented me for everything. And I still didn't have sights on becoming an actor. I wasn't like, oh, I want to become an actor. I want to take acting classes. I still wasn't thinking that. I was still like, okay, I'm making a living. I'm having a good time. I'm learning something and about life. And
but what is this?
I still didn't think like, oh, I could be an actor.
Right.
I saw people see something in me, but I didn't know still really what that meant.
Mm-hmm. No training, had never done a play.
Nothing. And my dad was currently working as a technical advisor for Nike on a film called Without Limits. It was about Steve Prefontaine. There's 2 that were made in the same year. One Tom Cruise produced and did through Disney, I believe, and then there was the one my dad did.
It's not always the way.
I saw this film that was features about him, and so he was up in Seattle. He had been up there for a long time. He's like, "Why don't you just come stay up here with me for 2 weeks? We'll hang out, we'll talk. You can come visit the set." I was like, "Great, sounds like fun." And I went, it's my first time ever on a movie set, and I went and I didn't leave for the entire 2 weeks. I felt at home like I did when I was at the theater.
Yeah.
I want to know what everybody did. I asked a million questions. But this is still me when I could barely like talk, and I mumbled a lot, and I couldn't look you in the eye, and I just kind of talk like this, and there might,
So there's all this going on inside.
All this inside.
No one can see anything, but there's a quiet girl.
Yeah, but I still like, what do you do? What do you do? My dad introduced me to everybody, and I just hung out so much that there's like, Kylie, do you want to, like, we put you in the scene. Would you want to be in a scene, and we'll give you a line? And I was like, yeah, okay. So they put me in wardrobe and makeup and gave me a little line in one of these bar scenes, I think I can't remember what I said. I think I said like, hi, Steve, like a big fan or something. He comes up and says hi. And from that, the casting director came up to me and she was like, hey, Kylie, you're going back down to LA, right? And I said, yeah. She was like, well, I'm going to give you the card for 2 people I know down there. I trust with anybody. I trust my own kids with them. They're a husband and wife team. They're an acting coach manager team. They've been doing it a long time. The acting coach is a big kids Disney acting coach. Mm-hmm. Gary and Jill Spatz. And I said, okay.
That sounds like a good connection.
Yeah, call them. I was like, okay. So it took me a month to get the courage to call them. I called them, and Gary, it was very, very sweet, and they invite me over, and they have like a small little group of young people that they're sort of bringing up in the business, mm-hmm. right, from scratch, really, and they get them all agents. And so I went and I read like Gary wanted me to read a monologue.
Was this your first time?
Yeah, never. I didn't even know what that meant. So I literally thought it was read the monologue, like read it.
Yeah.
So I read it.
How'd that go?
And I think I barely looked up, I looked up like maybe twice. I mean, he was like, oh, okay, all right, I see. He saw that I had no idea what I was doing.
Yeah.
I had no inkling of she's very, very green. But there was something about me that his wife especially really liked about me. I don't know what it was. And
Thank God other people could see it in you.
I know.
And help you, like,
yeah, exactly.
catch on.
Something like, Kylie, come on. And so they decided to take me on very kind of loosely. Mm-hmm. And they said, well, we're just going to start working with you and see what happens.
We'll see if we can get her out.
Yeah. And so I started going to classes at their house mm-hmm. with all these other really nice, young, up-and-coming people. And I started developing something. But the best thing they did was put me in a voice class. Mm-hmm. This amazing voice teacher, his name's David Farkas. And they're like, well, first you need to learn how to speak.
Step 1.
So that you don't mumble anymore and people can actually hear what you have to say.
Yeah.
And so he taught me, we worked on Shakespeare and his big monologues and scenes, and taught me how to connect with my body and my voice and my gut. He taught me that I had a voice. That changed everything for me in auditions, and so I started booking some things. And the first big thing that I got was a movie called October Sky, directed by Joe Johnston, one of Jake Gyllenhaal's first films. And that was, again, a life-changing moment. And I remember Nancy Foy was a casting director, and it was for the smaller part. They'd already begun filming, and they still hadn't found this girl. It was Valentine. She was just the local, like, in the book and originally in the script, she was a girl that a lot of the boys want to get to know, so to say. And she was always like, Jake was in love with the school cheerleader, popular girl. Mm-hmm. And this girl, she was interested. She was just a flirt, real flirty, very in touch with her body, I guess you could say. And mm-hmm. I saw her differently, though. And so I did it the way that they had originally written it. And she's like, do you want to do anything else? I said, yeah, can I just try something? It's just, I see her differently. And she's like, oh, I'd love to see that. And so I tried her, like she saw something in Homer, Jake's character, that nobody else saw. I don't know why it is I saw that in her, but that she saw Homer differently. And that nobody else was understanding him, but she could see something in him that was special. Mm. And so I did it that way. And then I was in Tennessee the next week.
Yeah, and then the angel sang and the sky opened.
Yeah, and they're like, oh, we hadn't seen it that way.
Yeah, that's it, kid.
Yeah, and they actually wrote my whole part differently. Mm. So we actually end up together in the end. They actually rewrote it that way. where Valentine is the girl, is the shy girl,
Yeah.
sits in the back of the class and always looking at Homer. He's always looking at the cheerleader. And it wasn't until that he gets dissed by the cheerleader, she goes out with his brother, that he actually sees me for the first time. That I've always been watching him and I've always been believing in him. And so that and I got to be on set for a whole entire, like a little over a month.
Yeah.
And I got to watch everything. And again, I was on set. I never left. Even when I wasn't filming, and I sat and I watched. And this one time, Jake wasn't 18 yet, so he could only film so long each day. And Chris Cooper was playing his dad. And I had no idea who Chris Cooper was at the time. He was always talking to me about theater. His theater he was a part of in Maine. And he was like, you should get into theater when you get me. But I was like, I don't know. I don't really see myself as I thought that was like, you had to train for that, right?
Yeah.
Like you had to like go to school for that. And but he's a really dedicated, always been a dedicated theater actor way before he was in a film. And I watched him, and he really moved me. And this one time, they were filming a family scene around the table, and they had to shoot Jake's close-ups first and shoot him out. And then Joe Johnston came up to me. He's like, Kylie, would you do me a favor? It's like, what? It's like, will you sit in for Jake so that everyone can give their lines to you and you can give at least something back? It's not just somebody reading lines. Can you give them something so we can get their close-ups? And I was like, okay. So it was this really intense scene where Chris Cooper's looking at Jake and he's like, he's not a boy anymore. I can't tell him what to do. You know, this whole like shifting that happens in their family at that moment.
And you're playing Jake's part?
Yeah. And Chris is looking just steel eyes like right into me. And I had watched Jake do it. So I got to act with Chris Cooper, even though I wasn't in the scene with him, but I was in the scene in that moment. And that really taught me a lot about just being present and being curious. And still to this day, like that's always led me in great directions. Being present and being curious and not feeling like I know everything, I know all the answers, or you know what I mean? Like I've gotten somewhere. I never want to feel like I've actually gotten to anywhere. You know what I mean? More that place where you think like, oh no, I've made it.
I'm done.
I'm done. I always want to feel like there's always, as long as I feel like I'm learning, I feel like I'm in the right place.
So you just sat in that scene and were open and in it and just played.
I played it all on my face. I just gave them. I think it's so important to be very generous with one another when you're in a play or in a movie or whether you're off screen or you're helping someone else with learn their lines, or you're off stage and you're in the dark but you're giving it's your energy. That I find that's what's changing people's molecules.
Yeah. This is also a big, I guess, affirmation of when you're in an audition space, make a choice. Like have a specific point of view and make a clear choice. A
strong choice. That again reminds me of I got to audition for the Coen Brothers once, and it was down to me and Scarlett Johansson. This is before she had, I think this movie broke her in, and I had so much fun auditioning for the Coen Brothers. They laughed my entire audition. It was the best feeling. They thought I was really funny. I don't think of myself as a funny person, but I just made a totally different choice. Like Scarlett went the total sexy route, the person that she is. She's just so exudes sexiness, and I was just more of like a closeted, again, just reserved, behind the scenes kind of observant person, and I just totally took it a different direction, but I made that choice. You know, and they're
totally
like
tickled.
They thought it was hilarious. It wasn't what they needed. But they're just like, wow, that was really fun. Thanks for teaching us something about, looking at it a different way. And I think that's and I'll forever just making a decision, like making a choice and having a good time and bringing your best self, because you never know. A lot of the time they don't know what they're looking for.
Right. They'll know when they see it. Yeah,
if you leave yourself outside the door, if you're doing something because you think it's what they want, then you're just leaving your best self out. And
you've missed it.
You've missed it. You could have been the thing that they were looking for. You just never really know. So I always just look at things. I used to give myself a really, really hard time on auditions. I actually had anxiety attacks, and now it's just, I just go and I just try to relax and have a good time and connect.
Makes all the difference.
Breathe.
Okay, so now you're in October Sky. At this point, do you think maybe I'll be an actor?
Yeah.
Has it hit you yet?
Yeah, I think that really solidified it for me. I just really loved it. I just couldn't imagine my life without it. And I feel like, and acting for me has ebbed and flowed throughout my years. So I've been doing it for over 20 years now. And it just, as long as I'm learning, and as long as I'm brings me joy, and I can bring joy to it, then I feel like, wow, I don't know. People still ask me like, wow, how did you get into acting? Everyone has, I love about this business is the randomness of it. It just,
there's no formula.
There's no formula, and there's no one way to go about it. And I think that's a beautiful thing. For some reason, it's just, I just have to follow the signs of the universe, I guess. And it really, when I tell the story, it is kind of like very obvious, like it was pushing me in this way, but all the way back to like when in Oregon, I was like, hey, maybe you should try this. And I was like, yeah.
It speaks to being open and present and listening and paying attention.
Yeah.
Sometimes the thing that everyone is telling you ought to be doing is sometimes the thing you ought to be doing.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think at a certain point, then that also mixes in with the opportunities to arise is, what do they say, where luck happens is where opportunity meets preparation. And so I feel like as long as I'm working on myself, teaching myself self-love, I think is a big one, because it's really easy to get self-defeated, feel like maybe it's not for you, or so competitive. But I just really focus on, anytime I've derailed is when I wasn't trusting myself, I wasn't loving myself, I wasn't listening to myself. I was in some sort of situation in my life where I was inviting people into my life who weren't loving as well. And those were tough lessons, but man, have they made me the person I am today. I'm grateful for that, actually, because now I know the difference. I know the difference, and
contrast is important.
Yeah, and the darkness to find your light. That we all have darkness in our lives, or the shadow, right? To really respect that, because then your light can shine so much brighter. I've found that the hard way.
I think we all learn that.
And not that everyone needs to go in a painful path, but I think also with loss. Everyone's going to experience loss of some sort, some person in their life. And I think that also, when you can let yourself go through that and feel that, because then that's when you feel also the bright side of that, the beauty of life. And sometimes that comes with loss.
It seems like to be an actor in the business and to keep in it, so much of it is a head game, right? Just keeping a hold of yourself in that crazy environment to get the job.
Yeah. Well, one of the best pieces of advice anyone gave me was have a life outside of your work, outside of your career. That's not everything. Shouldn't be everything, because you're going to be disappointed quite a lot, and you need other things around you to fulfill you and to keep you up and keep you positive and keep you creative. So I've always done lots of other creative things. My kids keep me really busy. They keep me incredibly inspired. My husband and I, he's a cinematographer, director. We work on a lot of things together. We love working together, and that's really the goal. The end-all goal is to write stories together and to create together and create with our kids. We love creating projects with them. They both love different aspects of theater and filmmaking as well.
I've seen your daughter in theater. She's wonderful.
She's wonderful.
Yeah, she's a bright, shiny light.
She's a bright, shiny light. Very smart. She's very, we ask her opinion more so than most adults that we know, because she's very thoughtful. Her intentions are right on, and her intuition is very, very strong.
You could see it, and she's very specific in her choices.
She's very, very specific. So she writes and directs and shoots, and now she acts as well. She too didn't see herself as an actor. She didn't see the light like people saw in me. She sort of thinks of it as a side thing. Her and an actor.
We shall see.
I know.
We
exactly. Exactly.
Okay, let's talk about getting into the actor studio and that whole experience.
Yeah. So the Actors Gang. Yeah. It's.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay. It happens a lot. So I was at a time in my early career. It was my early 20s. And all of a sudden, I felt pretty lost. I'd done a decent amount of work after October Sky, and I was feeling creatively stumped. I felt like I needed a creative family. I felt like I needed a family, just in general. in LA,
fine a point on it.
I was feeling a little homesick. I was feeling a little lost.
You needed your people.
I needed people. I was in a very negative relationship. I didn't realize at the time that's what it was. It was sucking my soul. I was lost my confidence in myself. I was losing love in myself.
It happens slowly, like water torture, one drop at a time until you don't realize you're drowning.
Yeah. It was my first...
I've read in the New Yorker that that's how it happens.
You read in the New Yorker. I think, whether it's a friendship or a relationship, we've all had some sort of, not so positive experiences. And this was like my first real kind of relationship with someone that was much older than me. And I realized later that it was very manipulative and emotionally, psychologically abusive. So I just needed some light.
Yeah.
I was living with my managers at the time, and Tim Robbins had taken a 5-year leave of absence from the Actors Gang. And he had just returned within that year and they were developing 2 plays. He was directing Mephisto, and Georges Bigot from Théâtre du Soleil, an actor, brilliant actor, director in Paris, who taught him the style, called the style, that created the Actors Gang back in '84. They met at the 1984 Olympics because there was a big artist festival, and Georges had come from Théâtre du Soleil and put together a workshop. And Tim and a bunch of the other actors that he was starting they wanted to start a theater together. They took the workshop, and they're like, "This is it.
This is it." Wow.
And they connected so strongly with Georges, and so they'd always stayed in touch and taken Georges to come and given them training and. So he brought George back to like reunite the company. Some stayed, some left, but those who stayed did like a 6-month-long journey with George, and they created in rep these 2 plays. And so the LA Weekly and the LA Times, both in the same week, came out with big articles. Tim on the cover, and my Gary came. I was sitting in his living room, and he came by. He just dropped papers right in front of me. He's like, "You might want to read that."
Think about this.
I read that, and I was like, this is exactly what I've been dreaming of. Yeah. Like, exactly what I need. People that spoke about the power of art, the power of theater, because I was like, why am I doing this, right? Like, what is I felt like there was more, and I just didn't know where to find it, and that was it that spoke to me. And I happened to live 3 blocks away from the theater. And so I was like, Gary, but he's like, we should just go down there. I'm like, but I'm sure you gotta have like 3 monologues. It's Tim Robbins.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's like a line off the door if he's on the cover of LA Times and the Weekly.
It can't be like every other job where I just hang out until I get the job.
I was like, I didn't go to school for this. And he was like, just go down there. So I finally just showed up. I knocked on the door. The door was open. Walked in the lobby. Nobody there except this one guy who was he was volunteering there. His name's Adam. He became a very good friend of mine. He was sweeping the lobby. Sweeping. I was like, hi, excuse me. I read about the theater, and it's about Tim and what you guys are doing here. It sounds really amazing. How do you get involved here? He's like, oh, volunteer.
Grab a broom.
I was like, yeah. I was like, oh, really? He's like, yeah, you want to talk to the managing director? I was like, sure. It's Greg Reiner. Greg comes down. I was like, yeah, what do you have to do to get involved here? I'm really inspired by your guys' work, and I'll do it. I'll answer phones, I'll clean, I'll whatever. He's like, well, do you live nearby? And I was like, yeah, I live down the street. And he's like, well, when can you start? And I said, can you start tomorrow? I was like, sure. And then after a couple weeks, he actually gave me a job. I became his assistant to the managing director. And so I was just instantly like taken in. Yeah. And I watched every rehearsal, and I remember sitting at the top of the theater and watching Georges talk to his actors. I was like poetry. I was crying. I was like, wow, I didn't know like people like this existed. This is amazing. And I met Tim, and I instantly just had love for him, like deep love. Like, I don't know, not as I found him attractive, but just like as a human being. And that rarely has happened to me in my life. It's happened maybe like a handful of times in this business, where you know that like there's like a deep connection, and you know that you're going to go on a journey with this person. And I just so that was September in 2001. So if you remember what happened in September 2001,
I do.
9/11 happened. The same month I found out I was pregnant with my first kid. And as I've mentioned, I was not in a very positive relationship. So as you can imagine, like literally the world turned on its head. like for everybody, and for me, and I was like, my life really did change. But at the same time, I had a family. I instantly knew I had a family. And the one thing, when I finally told Tim I was pregnant, he said, Kylie, I just want to let you know, like here at this theater, like you don't have to give up being a good actor to be a good mom, or give up being a good mom to be a good actor here. You can do both.
Beautiful.
And because at that time, a lot of people started having kids, or a lot of young kids. My friend Anne, who's a costume designer there, was pregnant. We had our kids a day apart. So we were pregnant together, and I workshopped.
Everyone's having babies.
I was on stage pregnant, and so he let the group know. He's like, I just want to let you know there's going to be a lot of kids around. I want to hear the sound of children all the time from here on out. So if you have an issue with that, it's probably not the place for you.
Amazing.
And so I workshopped pregnant, had Una. And then when I still had a job, so I brought the baby to work, and they really helped support me. Literally helped support me. Yeah. And so when Una was 1, Tim asked if I would audition to play Jin Ryan in this play that he wrote called Embedded, about the lead up to the war in Iraq. It's funny that Una and I just watched Vice together, and that was the time she was born. Yeah. And it was all about, I said, Una, we were living this when you were born, and I was actually doing a play
about this.
But it was just the stage version of this exact movie. And we talked about that. It was fascinating. And I said, you were a baby, and that's when I realized I had been living under a rock as far as consciousness of what was happening in the world, politically, socially, everything. I just didn't really, I don't think I'd ever voted before that. I wasn't ever interested in it. I didn't know that I had a voice. I didn't know I had a voice as an actor. Yeah. I didn't know that I could affect people in the way that Tim was able to affect people, the way that George was able to affect people, the way our theater company affected people, and that you could create dialogue with the public via art, and create a place for debate. That's what Embedded did. We did the play sold out run, I think for, I don't know how many months we did it in LA.
That was also the time where you couldn't speak out against it.
Oh, it was either the whole George Bush saying you're either with us or against us.
Yeah.
And that's when Tim has this thing where he has his finger on the pulse of what's happening. And he always creates things a little bit ahead of when things come out into
like, we're going to talk debate. About this in 6 months.
Yeah, this is going to be everywhere.
Yeah.
But he also had people like Gore Vidal whispering in his ear. Yeah. He has a lot of really amazing influences. So he wrote that and brought it to us, and then he cast it. He cast me as Jin Ryan, which is a character based on Jessica Lynch, if you remember her whole story. But she was a real person. I was playing a real story based on a real person. And so I took very, very seriously, and we did that for a number of months in LA, and then we were booked by the Public Theater in New York. So we went to New York for 6 months, sold out run.
Amazing.
In New York, and then we ended up taking to London. So it was LA, New York, London. So I took Una to New York with me. They hired us for us to have kids, a nanny that took care of our kids. We got paid well. So I was traveling, doing what I love with my friends, living the dream. We had huge talk. Everyone who came to see the play would stay and have debates and talkbacks. So we had.
Did you plan the talkbacks, or that was just happening?
No, it was in the moment. Tim was planning them, but like literally, they'd happen. Like, oh, we got so and so is here.
I heard you say Amy
Goodman, Naomi Klein. We had different Fox reporters, because it was about embedded and unembedded journalists and soldiers. And so we had Tim up there. We had, I had no idea who these people were. Like, I had no.
But I bet you sensed it was a big deal.
It was I sensed it. I totally knew it was a big deal.
Yeah.
But from then on, I was never ever the same person.
How could you be?
You can't turn back. I could never be the unaware person.
And that, but you were
artist.
You were in the conversation.
In the
national conversation.
We were in the national. We had families out front of our theater arguing. Kids, like, literally with, like, fisticuffs, like, one being Republican, one being Democrat, one being on supporting the war, one not.
You riled people up.
Yeah, we had servicemen and women, military, come and speak. We had ex-military, we had vets in our cast talking about their experience. It was it totally changed my entire life and how I see myself as an artist and the responsibility I feel I have as an artist. And I tell my kids that it's like, it's not just fluff. You're not just out there entertaining people. You got to entertain. That's number one. You got to keep people interested and engaged. But
it's way more powerful than that.
Man, if you can move them in any sort of emotional way, that's what they're going to remember. And then if you can create some sort of thought, new thought, or discussion, maybe inclination, and want to go find out more information or where their information comes from, that's what I learned from Amy Goodman. Know your sources.
Yeah.
You can't just believe everything you hear.
No, she's amazing.
Yeah, amazing. So I all of a sudden was just introduced to, and the biggest thing for me is I'll always be grateful to Tim about is that I was 24, 25 years old, a new mom, single mom, and here was this family supporting me as it was most challenging years of my life.
Yeah.
Most challenging years of my life, but I was doing what I love, and
it could have been a lot more challenging.
It could have been a lot more challenging, exactly. So theater for me that was my first theater experience.
God.
and then after that, a couple years after that, Tim wanted to do 1984, an adaptation that was sent to him by a writer up in San Francisco. So that was the next finger on the pulse, was the Big Brother.
Yeah.
And that was my favorite book from high school. And I was so determined there was only one female role, to play Julia, but it was also to play one of the interrogators. So we were playing dual roles, most of us. And I wanted that part so bad. I was going to be heartbroken. It's the first time I was like, if I don't get it, I will forever be remorseful.
Did you get it?
Yeah, I did. I got it. I worked my arse off for it. And everyone was doing such amazing work. So we were all inspiring each other. But I was so happy after that. And then, so 1984 ran at our theater. That was when we moved to Culver City. And then we did a national tour. We did 40 U.S. cities. And then we did an international tour. So we went to Australia, we went to Spain, we went to Mexico, we went to South America, we went to Greece.
So you have earned a living as a theater actor.
Yeah, I actually have.
In LA.
In LA, which is so, and
you are
being
a unicorn.
A mom, it's unheard of.
It is unheard of.
It was my first two real place. And I tour and I got paid and I got to do it with my friends.
Amazing.
And bring my kid.
Amazing.
Yeah. So my kids were basically raised in the theater. And then I've been in the Actors Gang for almost 18 years, but I just finished my 4th play because they've lasted so long. I've been in two long-standing touring plays.
Well, when they go on for years.
And then I met my beautiful husband. And
where'd you meet him?
At a party. At a Hollywood party. But man, I knew on our second date, he was going to be my husband. I want to marry him. Yeah. I'm always a very, very, very picky person.
And your intuition is finely honed. I love how you know in the moment that the moment is happening. A lot of people don't get that until retrospect. Oh, in retrospect, that was the big moment. But you are there in the moment recognizing, oh, my life is changing right now.
Yeah. And just how just incredibly fortunate I felt, and that the gods were kind of that put me in that circumstance, right? I always felt okay, you're always going to do your, I always felt I gotta do my best. I feel it's where that luck thing, right? Where you...
Well, there's an element of grace, right? Where the moment arrives.
Yeah, right. And I feel it's just... I have to trust the journey. Trust the
has it let you down so far?
Even in the tough moments. No, it hasn't. And even the tough moments, I look back, I'm like, wow, I've done a lot of work on myself to be self-loving again, right? To the point to where I just you gotta let stuff go. You gotta forgive. And I'm grateful now for those moments because it's made me a deeper, more in tune, more empathetic person. I'm grateful for that. But when I met my husband, I had done a lot of that work because I really was trying to open up a place in my life to where I felt deserving of...
And you could receive it.
And I could receive it. But I had to convince myself that I was deserving of something great, of someone great to share a great life with, and also that Una was deserving of. Una deserved a great father.
Yeah.
She never had before that. So I had gotten to that, but I shed, like, throughout the journeys of traveling and learning from other cultures and people and just seeing a lot of things. I just did a lot. I had a lot of opportunities to heal myself. And so literally, like, right as I opened up myself to everything I wanted in my life, I met him 3 months later. And we met at a party, hung out talking, watching the sunrise till 6 a.m, till I'm like, oh gosh, I gotta go pick up my kid. And he's like, you have a kid? I said, yeah, I have a kid. And I usually don't ever tell anyone that until like weeks in, until I know that they're deserving to know. And he was like, wow, you're so lucky.
Oh, right answer, dude.
I was like, inside, I was like, good.
Yeah, really good answer.
Really good answer.
Not like, oh.
Yeah, I was like, oh, yeah, well, guys gotta go.
Look at the time,
it wasn't that. It was like, it was a good answer. And so he's like, yeah, well, okay. And then on our second date, I had a total vision, which happens to me every now and then, where he was driving us through the hills from another party we'd gone to. One of my Actors Gang friends was hosting, best time ever. And then he pulled over to the side of the road, and you know those those white roses that grow along the side of the road everywhere in LA? He pulled over the side of the road and grabbed a rose and just like handed it to me. And he always draws with a Sharpie hearts on his hands, and he'll draw them on our hands too, just as a reminder. And he took out a Sharpie and he drew one on the inside of his hand, drew one on the inside of mine, and he just clasped my hand like that. And I was like, I felt like a bolt of lightning like went through my body. I was like, I don't know, it was like the electric current.
Wait, was this the vision, or was this what actually happened?
That's what happened.
Okay.
And then I look up on the windshield of the car we were in, and I see like Polaroids, like photos of the rest of our life together. Children, marriage, how everything. I was like I just saw it all. And I was like, oh, I guess that's what they mean when they say, when you know.
Yeah.
And I just looked at
him
and I was like, no. I didn't tell him that for I think a year. I didn't want to freak him out. I didn't want to think like, oh my God, you're the one.
We're getting married now. You're like, come on, lady. It's our second date.
Crazy lady.
Calm down.
So yeah, I kept that inside for a long time. And we waited 6 months to introduce him to Una, because he was like, I can leave you. I can't leave your kid.
Yeah.
So let's wait on that. And we waited until we were really kind of like, oh, we're in it.
Yeah.
We're really in it. Like we can't, we're not going anywhere. And so he was working at Sony at the time. I think he was working on Dreamgirls. And so he skateboarded down I had left something at his house. And so he came out and gave it to me. And I said, oh, just want to let you know I have Una with me. He's like, oh, is this that moment? I said, yeah, I think so. And so he just rolled up, and she saw him skate. She had been asking. She was almost 5 at this point. No, she was 5. And she was like, who are you talking to all the time? Who is this person you're talking to all the time? I want to meet him. Who is this person? Always asking me. And she didn't care about anything, but she always, because she could tell something was up. Who is this person in our life now? And so he skateboarded down, and she's like, is that him? I said, yeah. She ran to him, hugged him for what felt like 5 minutes. And he was like, whoa.
She knew.
And you know what's hilarious is like a year later, we were driving past that exact spot, and I said, hey, Una, do you remember that's when you first met Scott? And she was like, yeah, that's when I knew it was the right one for me. Oh. Yeah.
That's really good.
I know, it's so good. It's like nothing to do with me. It's like, yeah. It's like, but yeah, because it had to be that. It had to be good for her, because I'd been through the opposite.
Yeah.
I didn't want to put her through that, Yeah, I tried dating some other people, but it just never, she protested instantly. Yeah. So I had to trust her instinct too. I know, right? I know. Yeah. So that was a life changer right there. And, but I also knew, like, it was beyond just having a partner in life. It was a creative partner. I wanted someone I could create with. That was the next
have
level
to.
for me. Yeah. I mean, it was like, I want that to me is the sexiest thing.
Yeah, of course, of course.
And he's so talented.
And someone who's not that way is not going to get you anyway.
Yeah. And he is like such a beautiful eye, such a beautiful vision. He has such a beautiful heart. He works from his heart, just like me. Like I can't, like me as an actor, I had to stop acting for a couple of years because my husband's career started taking off. He started doing features. And so he'd be gone for 3 months.
Right.
My kids were 3 and 10.
Yeah, and you're a production widow.
Yeah, exactly. And those are times in my kids' lives for those 2 girls, they really needed me present.
Yeah,
and I knew if I wasn't fully present, then they were always going to be affected by that. And that's you can't fix that later, you know?
No.
So
I take it back.
yeah, and that's forever. Like I can't, I'm like, okay, well then I'm going to take a step back. And I knew it was just kind of the right time. Another instinctual thing, like I fought it for a little while, testing the waters at the theater, and it always kept pushing me back. And I had to really work really hard to listen at that moment where I'm like, okay, this is a sacrifice for my family time. Because I'm not going to be happy as a person if I knew that my kids needed me and I wasn't there.
Yeah.
And so it literally, like, the universe was pushing me away from the theater. And that was heartbreaking for me. It was like the first, because it was like I spent every day there.
Yeah.
They're my family.
No, it's hard.
But I had a family to take care of. I was never married before. So I'm like, okay, this is what sacrifice it. Like, this is what marriage is sometimes. You have to make sacrifices. And that was a big learning curve for me, that I couldn't be just all about me.
Yeah.
It wasn't.
But it's also for this period of time, even though it feels like forever in that moment.
Yeah. It felt like forever in that moment.
Yeah.
But look back, it was like,
A minute.
a couple of years. But what I ended up doing is I'm getting into production design.
Oh.
Yeah, because I come from a long line of designers, so I always love design, production, the end of things. So my husband one time was working on a music video. He's like, why don't you just come along and just make things look pretty? Can you just please, we don't have the budget to make things look pretty. Can you please make things look pretty? I was like, sure. So he's like, and so he started showing me like, oh, this is what that means. That's what this means. This is, this person does that. This person does that. And this is a trick. This is a trick here, this is a trick there, kind of thing. And he's like, see how when you put this light in this way and got a little color here, it just totally changes the whole shot. So he taught me how to really build a frame, like from how to look at a frame and how to fill it out. And we just loved, that's the first time we tried working together, and we actually really loved it. And so he was working with these with this production company, and he just kept, and they started hiring me. And so I just tried it, and I was like, wow, I actually kind of like this. And I was getting paid, and we needed the money at the time, and I could make my own hours, and so
that all worked.
It worked. It was great. I should also mention that our families have been incredibly supportive. So my mom lived with us for a certain period of time, so I could go on tour at certain times. So it was like, helpful. Family was always coming in and helping. Like if we had to do a project together or whatever, we've been very grateful and so lucky with that. But so that, and then people started hiring me without him. And I did for a couple of years, I did a lot of work as a production designer, which was really kind of odd to me, that I could just sort of like jump in and do that.
What am I
and
doing?
like, yeah, I was like literally every job I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm just going to try my best. And, but then I realized there was kind of like, I didn't want to be the best production designer. I want to be the best actor I can be, but I didn't want to be the best production.
There was only so much passion around that.
Yeah, well, so much passion. And also, it's like to be really good at it. It's like, oof, you need those skills.
Yeah.
Like you need to go and learn some. Like you need to either apprentice with someone.
It's a real craft.
It's. Man, you gotta, because that was too stressful for me. That end of stress, I can handle actor stress.
Yeah.
Like I can handle those nerves and those butterflies and learning my lines and all that kind of
That's
stuff.
all very personal and internal.
I love that. I love that challenge. But I had my, handed me a couple times on the plate. So, and I did not enjoy that side. And like literally, I think I lost like a couple. I don't know. It's just...
You're like, this isn't the funnest thing I've ever done.
No, it's not fun. It wasn't fun at certain parts, And I'm just like, acting to me is always fun, even if it's sometimes just so challenging or like you just don't understand what's going on or it's... it was just always... I love the challenge of figuring it out.
Right. That process is
Yeah,
so fun.
it's like, it's being a detective. I love the detective part of things.
And then when
tedious,
you find it and it opens up. And
yeah, all of a sudden, then you're just... beautiful. So what got me back into the theater were my kids. They were old enough to where I always brought the kids to the theater to see all the plays. I was taking to see plays everywhere, but all the plays that the actors came mostly. But the first one that really did it to the girls and I was, so we work with Get Lit a lot. And Una started working with Get Lit as a slam poet, and so she knew Diane, who was the head of Get Lit.
Diane Lane.
Yep, Diane Lane.
You should all be checking out Get Lit.
Check out Get Lit.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
It's amazing.
And totally changed Una's life. I was floored by Get Lit, so I'm a huge fan. I'll go see them anytime and support them anytime. So Diane had taken Dante's Inferno and did an adaptation of it. She created this amazing play. She created a play with the Get Lit players.
Wow.
And then trained with us for a number of months to get it up on its feet, because they weren't actors, they're poets, slam poets, but brilliant. And it was one of the coolest things I'd ever actually seen in my life. I've seen a lot of theater.
Yeah, that's saying something.
I've seen a lot of theater. I was so moved by it. And the girls and I were sitting there after, we couldn't move. And we're talking about it. And Amma was silent, which never happens. Amma's never silent. And I was like, Amma, what do you think? What'd you think of that? She goes, I want to do that. I want to do that.
You were watching them have their moment.
They had their moment. And the same feeling, how I was affected in London, like Amma was affected. She was like, I want to do that. I want to make people feel like that.
You're like, this is your Les Mis.
Totally. So I was like, wow, that's so powerful. She goes, well, when can I start doing that? And I said, well, we have classes for kids.
Yeah.
We do a lot of education outreach at the Actors Gang, just FYI, year round. And so we put her in I think it was a summer camp or Saturday morning class or something, and she just she's taken every single one since for the last 2 years. And what's funny, what happened was she started taking classes, and all my friends are teaching her. And she's in the theater in the lobby. She's spending way more time at the theater than she ever has. And she's looking around, and we have all these photos from all of our past shows, and she starts seeing me in photos on the walls. She's like, Mom, what are you doing in these pictures on the walls? And I was like, I was in that play, And she's like, what? So then
She had no idea?
No, she didn't ever, it never resonated with her because she never seen me.
She didn't put it together.
No, because I had taken a break. Literally, I wasn't workshopping, I wasn't we'd go see the plays. But then all of her teachers or my friends, they were like, oh, Amma, when your mom was doing 1984, I remember babysitting you. I would hold you. We were so little and so cute, and we would run around the theater, and while your mom was rehearsing or practicing our lines, Amma was like, what? My mom was in a play? She's like, yeah, she's been in lots of plays. It's like,
it was all coming together for her.
Yeah, she never looked at me as an artist in that way. Right? Like I did production design stuff. She kind of had an idea what that meant. And Una knew, but still, she'd never seen me. They'd never been able to watch anything that I was in because 1984 is not appropriate for them. And
and they were little.
They just didn't get it. They knew that they traveled with me, but they were little. They both traveled around the world, but they don't really remember it.
Right.
They just see the pictures. Why. Yeah, or know why. And so this last year, Una's been they've both been involved, and very much so involved in their own way in the theater. And so I started spending more time there through them. And Amma calls it her theater. So much. She's there so much. She's like, oh, this is my theater, Mom. And Una was so inspired by theater to direct and write. And so she would come watch workshops with me or come to watch rehearsals, things like that, because she was getting more and more interested in that. So I was like, well, this is the perfect place for you to learn.
Yeah.
And then we were doing, Tim reached out and he said, well, I'm thinking about doing a summer intensive. We used to do these intensives for 10 days. The whole entire company is required to attend. We go 10 hours a day for 10 days straight. And so all of a sudden it kind of gives a rebirth to the company because you all get to experience the same thing and grow together and go through ebbs and flows.
And rebond.
And see what happens, what comes out of it. Let's see what comes out of this. And so he's like, would you be interested in coming? I said, yeah, can Una come and watch? And he's like, oh, definitely. Let's raise the next generation, right?
Yeah.
So we started doing these workshops, and I really had no idea what to expect. And he just created this playground. Literally, we would play for the first hour. We would jump rope. We would play hopscotch, foursquare, sing those songs, Miss
Find your
Mary,
inner child.
Mac, all that. Find your inner kid, like your imaginary, joyful self. He's like, I just want to explore joy. Can we please just explore joy? What is that? And when you hear kids playing on the playground, like that, and you see kids playing on the playground, it's just pure like play.
Yeah.
And so we were learning how to juggle. We were learning how to, we work with puppets and marionettes a lot. So we were learning how to do all these marionettes that he had just purchased from Europe, and just learning and just playing learning new tricks basically. And so I was learning how to juggle, which I never thought I'd learn how to do. I was so proud of myself. And then we turn that joy into, we just create workshop out of it. And we did this one exercise where the entire company, all 60 of us, would sit in the audience, and one person at a time would stand in front of the audience and receive every single person. And receive just by not saying anything, standing, like you literally felt like you were naked, whether you're up there or not. You really felt like you're naked when you're up there. But just to literally like make eye contact with each person and receive the story that the audience wants you to tell. Not what you've come to the stage. Don't give us ideas. Don't give us your version of what you think joy is. Just be in joy with yourself and with us in this moment, and let's see what that turns into. Sometimes a person would be on stage for half an hour. Sometimes a person would be up there for an hour. Sometimes it would take a lot longer for them to find that joy and see what it turned into. We all had to memorize a Shakespeare monologue of noble class. So you had to be a king or a queen or a duchess or something. And then you had to memorize a song and a poem. Any time you would ask for any one of those things, if you felt the moment was right. So sometimes you see people their faces would meld into these characters, these Shakespearean characters that have been around for so long. Their faces would literally morph into other things. Sometimes they would sing their song and it would be the most beautiful, and not in a way that they ever thought that, when you practice something, you have an idea.
This is not how they rehearsed it.
No, not at all. Like so many things, like you never imagine you doing any of those things beforehand. And that's what the beauty of it was. And what was interesting is we moved along through the workshop. He found a lot of the women were having a tougher time. He's like, I want you to stand in front of all of us and feel worthy of the space. Feel worthy of the stage. You are worthy. But do it in joy. Live in your power and your worthiness in joy. And
that's
for
hard for
us women, he was so surprised that he's like, why is it so hard for you guys? And we would sit in circles. We'd always start in a circle and always end in a circle. Because everyone's included and you can see everybody and everyone's sharing. We speak from I statements. So when I experienced this, I felt. And so many of us women had so much emotion behind it. He was like, let's just let the ladies talk. Men, I think we just need to listen right now.
Beautiful.
For days, this happened. I mean, it went on, and because all these things that we were experiencing was just...
so much to unpack.
I just said, Tim, like, I've had to fight for my joy and power. I've had to fight so hard to feel joyful, to be in a place of power. Like, it comes with so much sadness and so much anger. I have to go through that sadness and the anger to get to that joy because it's so resonant in my body. And all the women were just like this the whole time and crying. We were crying together. We were like grieving together this. And we were moving past it and moving through it because we've rarely been given an opportunity. We've really had been in a place to have the opportunity to be joyful in our power. And we're seeing it now all the time, right? And that's why we have these amazing conversations. We see Regina King up on stage last night saying, Les, can we have more of this, please?
Yes.
I like this.
Yes, thank you.
I
more,
like
please.
what I'm seeing. Yes, thank you, more, please. And everyone resonating in that. And so I think it was just a magical, magical time that really changed like we were able to be in stillness and in power and in joy and say so much without saying one word. And that for me was exactly what I needed in my life. And have my daughter, my 16-year-old daughter witness it.
Watching this whole thing. Incredible.
And you know what was one of the most amazing moments was at the end of our 10 days together, and Una sat in the circle with us. And she had witnessed so many of these experiences with us. And she'd always been there for everybody, supporting with her eyes. And she got up, she stood up and shared her experience with everybody. And with tears in her eyes, when she's very emotional about something, she speaks through her tears just like I do. And she just let everyone, she know what the experience was for her. And she's like, and I'm going to be a female director. I'm going to be a powerful, joyful female director and a storyteller. And I just want to thank all of you for helping me to become more empathetic and more aware. And having this experience, she goes, this is so rare that I get to witness this. And that's going to inform who I am as an artist. And I know that what I have to say matters. And like, she made everybody cry. Of course. You know what I mean? Everyone was like, oh. You could hear a pin drop. It was just so cool to share that experience with her. And I was like, okay, if that's it, then I'm good. You know, like
your work is done.
My work is done. And everybody's cultivating that in her, and that she's grown up with that. And so it just, for me, came full circle of sharing my work and my love for what I do with my kids and keeping them involved in it and having conversations with all just in that moment really I just could breathe. I just was like, man, all that hard work, it paid off in that one moment. And then that workshop turned into workshopping Mad Woman of Chaillot, which was supposed to be our first play that we were going to be opening for our season. And it was an amazing film, very female driven, a lot of mask work, a lot of women playing. Tim was playing with the idea of women playing men, powerful political figures in masks. And there's so many amazing dynamics happening. It was a cast of like 20 people. There was going to be marionettes and massive costumes and set, like all the things. They were just out with a bang. Pooh! And then we were like 2 weeks in to workshop. We workshop for our auditions. Like, we don't just come in and read lines. And so we all got to workshop all the parts that we wanted to try out for. And so we were all switching around for 2 weeks. I think we got to 2.5. And then Tim was like, we're supposed to open, we had 3 more weeks until opening. And he hadn't cast it yet. Hello. Because he was wanting to cast multiple people in multiple roles, but sometimes it wouldn't work for one thing, and then you had to be on stage in that time. And he was driving him crazy. He was like, I can't, if one person's strong in this, but not strong in that, but I would like to double them up on the... He's just like, we're not ready. It's a very difficult puzzle. It was a very difficult puzzle. And he also realized that the mask work, a lot of the newer members hadn't had the experience with the mask. And that just takes time. Yeah. You can't rush that. So a lot of people hadn't had the training. And so he's like, I can't put something out that is not worthy of our, where we're at right now as a company. I know we're capable of. I need months to do this, he realized. And so he went back to his original instinct of wanting to do a play called Johnny Got His Gun, based on the novel that Dalton Trumbo wrote, called Johnny Got His Gun. And it was written as a one-man play. But he when he read it, he saw it as like 9 or 10, like a chorus kind of. Multiple people playing Joe, because he has all these conversations with people throughout the book. He has conversations with his girlfriend, with his father who's no longer around. He hears his mother singing. He goes back into the days when he was young and hanging out with his friends, and the first girl Diana he was in love with. And so you see all these things when you're reading the book, and also when you're reading the play. The playwright did a really beautiful job of breaking it all up and narrowing it down. And it's only the play is only an hour and a half. I mean, it's just a one act. And so he switched and overnight, and he was like, he chose 10 of us. Was it 10 of us? Yeah, 9 or 10 of us. And
did you put it up in 3.5 weeks?
Yeah, totally unheard. Yeah, insane. So he called all of us that he had imagined. He's like, okay, from these people, and also it came from like who was in a place personally in their life where he felt like they were just open, ready with joy. Yeah. Just to jump in. He's like, I have such a short amount of time. And it's an ensemble piece. So it's like, you need people that can work tightly together and not... you don't have time to ramp up. We don't have time to deal with personal stuff right now. So everyone knows, and people are just in different times in their life, right? And so, artistically and personally. So he chose those of us who he felt were ready. And I happened to be one of those people. He just called me up and he's like, would you be interested in this? He's like, read it, call me back. And I read it in like, half an hour. I'm like, yeah. I was like, yeah. And then I'm in. So we just got together and we read it out. And he's like, what I'm going to do, he's like, what I've done is I've given you all numbers. So there's Joe, this kid Nathan, he had played Joe. And then there's everybody else who's numbered. We're the ensemble. So we just all had numbers and we went through it.
I'm going to point to you when it's your turn.
Yeah, he's like, okay, yep, this part, yep, number 1 from this word to that word, that's number 2. From this word to that word, that's number 3. These are all together. And then so we read it out loud, and he's like, as we go along, he's like, we're going to be changing that a lot. So have a pencil in your pocket all the time. Yeah, pencils are your friend. And yeah, I'm going to be moving things around as I see how they work or not. He's like, we're going to see how we can move together. And we work in what we call the style. We work in 4 states of emotion: happy, sad, angry, afraid. So we always say, nothing's going to work if you're not stated. So all the movement and everything that happened in Johnny, people were like asking, like, who's your choreographer? Like, we are the choreographers, because we felt like in this moment, all of a sudden, we have this moment of joy, and Pierre starts spinning. He's like, I don't know, I just gotta spin right here. I just gotta spin. I gotta put my arms out into the sky. I feel like I want to catch a snowflake or something. So he's like, oh, great, spin and catch snowflakes. Let's bring as much joy to it as possible, because it's not a very happy story.
Yeah.
You know anything about Johnny Got His Gun, and it's an anti-war story. It was one of the most beautiful, moving experiences I've ever had as an actor, bar none.
And you've had a lot of good ones.
I've had a lot of good ones, but this one I literally felt like I became a piece of all these other people. Like that they were the extension of my arms.
Yeah.
I've never felt like, literally you had to work so hard at being relaxed and open and present. Talk about like 360-degree awareness. We always work on stage on our 360-degree awareness. So like when you have soft focus on the horizon, you can see to the left of you, the right of you. You can always kind of feel like you put an eye in the back of your head, like something's there. We're always working on our spatial awareness.
So you're literally a piece of the whole.
Yeah, and that just comes from training.
Yeah.
A lot of that just comes, and there was some of us that had a lot more training than others. So it's my first time I've ever been in a play where I was the more vanguard member. I've always been the youngin' with the vanguard members, like people that have been in since the beginning. I've been in 2 really long, the 2 touring plays were all with members that had started the company. Like I was that lucky.
So your role is changing in the company.
My role, yeah, and I loved it. I loved kind of being like kind of a stage mom, like carrying like Nathan didn't know. He would just throw his pants. I'm like, Nathan, you have to hang up your costume. You have to iron it. You have to like take care of yourself. I brought them vitamins. I'm like, you guys, you got to take care of yourselves. Like I bring them food. Like I just loved the camaraderie, and I've never done a play with any one of those people before. Some of them I wanted to for so long, and I was so happy to share that because I love them as individuals. And now I got to share this magical experience. Ron Kovic came, who wrote Born on the 4th of July. Came to one of our last shows and spoke. He was literally in his wheelchair on stage with us.
Oh my God.
Because that's where his wheelchair could fit. And so literally he was always right in front of me. Like we always have like we call it snowflake spots. You'll only understand if you saw the play, but there are lights that we often go to, and he's right next to me. We were breathing together, and it was just an amazing experience. To really know what it's like to be open with what's possible when you're open to other individuals and generous with one another, what you can create.
Now I have to leave us wanting more, although I could talk to you all day, and we've been talking for an hour and a half. Do you have one piece of advice you could leave with us for people coming up behind? I would, kind of like what I said before, like just have a full life of other things that inspire you, whether that's other people around you that are inspiring you, are challenging you. Self-love. Do the work on yourself every day, whether that's meditating or doing yoga or going for a hike or treating yourself to something that makes you feel good. It's so, so important, because when you have self-love, you have so much more to give. Because you're in a good place with yourself. Yeah, take care of all those things that are near and dear to you, because it's a tough business, and you're going to need those things to give you comfort and let you know that even though maybe you fell here or there, falling and failing is good.
because you got to get back up and you try even harder the next time. And all those people that believe in you and love you truly will keep you on your feet. So I just, that's the thing I think that's really helped me the most, is having a full life of things I love to do and that make me feel good every day.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Kylie.
Thanks for having me.
You've been listening to The Other 50%, a Herstory of Hollywood. I'm Julie Harris Walker. I'd like to thank Kylie Hollister for sharing her story. And special thanks to Jay Rowe, Danny Rosner, and Allison McQuaid for the music. Please find us on your favorite podcast provider and leave a review. And of course, on our website, theother50%.com, all spelled out in letters, for added features, bios of our guests, and the merch. You can also follow us on all the social media platforms. And go subscribe to catchabreakpodcast.com. Thanks for listening. See you next time.